Welcome back, everyone. Season 2, episode 6 of The Human Role. So, as mentioned at the end of the last episode, I'm really excited again to have a very special guest, Tom McCarty, who is the CEO of the Orgchart. Welcome, Tom. Really happy to have you here today.
Thanks, Tiana. Glad to be here.
For my network who isn't familiar at all with org charts, I mean, I'm sure the name you're of course familiar with in general with doing your, day-to-day job, but org chart itself is an actual software, an automation software really built for HR, really having HR and HR needs in mind when it comes to this specific need across companies, all companies, because it is very, very critical. So Tom is here today. It's going to give us, really good deep dive into the history, background, essential needs of org charts. So let's kick it off from here now. Tom, if you want to just introduce yourself to my network, let them know, your history, your background, how you got into the role of being the CEO of the org chart, and then also, maybe a little snippet on how org chart came about would be really helpful.
Yeah, so Tom McCarty, I'm the CEO of Orgchart. I've been with Orgchart for a little over 2 years now. My background's actually pretty deep in technology, with the stints at Dell and Intuit and software companies in general of all sizes, from Pipedrive and Intuit to now Orgchart. And so I've got a long history of running SaaS go-to-market teams, and joined a couple of years ago to take over as CEO for Orgchart. It's been a really fun ride, and an amazing company and team to work with, and so really proud of the work we've been doing. Orgchart itself really came about. It was started a little over 10 years ago to really solve the needs of org visualization that exists within the HR community. And really what we've seen, and what our product founder had seen as well, was like, look, most companies are still doing it the same way that they always have been doing it, which is manual creation of their org charts. And even though the HCMs and the HRIS systems provide sometimes an org chart, it's generally a standard template. It's generally just name, title, reporting structure, and it doesn't really meet the unique needs that HR has. And so our goal is to really allow you to always have the org chart you need as an HR professional whenever you need it. And that's really the purpose of why the company was started and what we continue to do today.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've experienced just the standard basic where you think platform has an org chart, but then it doesn't print out well, or it doesn't show well, or your
Yeah.
changes aren't really tracked in real time. And so that leads us into your essential, reasons as to why a company could really benefit from having your software. I think is really good. So I have gone through demos and looked over your company's one pagers. There's really good top headlines around workforce planning, of course, automation, proper communication, and so forth that I think are really, really key. So if you don't mind, maybe even giving us, more kind of like a run through of why it really is essential and really a good need for for a
Yeah.
company to have, the org charts to really kind of set them apart from the norm.
Well, I think you touched on a few of the things, and the reality is, like, look, if all you need is your name, title, and reporting structure, a lot of times your HCM will have that, but it starts to get challenging when you're trying to export it or put it into different mediums of which you need to share that information. We really try to solve and kind of stay in the lane of three things that we do, and they all kind of circle around the org chart and the different ways in which we see HR utilizing org visualization. And so what we're trying to solve for, and we kind of put it in three buckets, and then we could talk about some of the actual functionality that comes with that. But we first and foremost are trying to solve for visibility, which is what we find is that HR professionals have a view that they need of the org chart. And by the way, that view changes depending on the conversations they're having, right? So if you are doing your kind of your people reviews, and you're kind of doing your future planning, and you're looking at who your top talent and key talent is, and where people are on a 9 block, for instance, you might want to be showing some of that data in the org chart as you're looking at departments. You can't do that in most situations without a software like ours. Maybe you're having a DEI discussion and you want to have shading to represent that across your org chart. Maybe you're having budget discussions and you want budget to be surfaced within that. And so what we allow you to do is visualize and get the visibility of the org that you need for the conversations you're having. And then the second part is insights. And that's kind of what I was starting to get to, where it's like, hey, it's not a one size fits all where you only need to have name, title inside the boxes, right? there's different times in which you need different information on that. And so we allow you to surface the data that's inside your HRIS system onto the org chart that you want. So in other words, you could put different fields in and you can create charts for different insights. So that way you have both the visibility you want, the structure of how you want it to look with the right insights for the conversations you have. And then the next thing that we do is what we refer to as vision. And it's really where workforce planning comes into account. And that's saying, what's the future vision of our organization? What do we need to look like in the future? And I think there's a lot of reasons why that happens. Maybe you are in a high growth, or your company has taken an investment and you're going to grow 20%. And you need to start thinking about, well, where do we put the headcount in this organization? Which teams need more support than other teams? Or maybe we're facing economic headwinds and you're having to do the opposite. That's hard planning that you need to do, and you need to look at all the different scenarios. And so we allow you to do that planning, but actually see the visualization of what that looks like. So instead of doing this workforce planning exercises in a spreadsheet, which is what I think often happens in many organizations, it becomes this Excel spreadsheet exercise. You can actually see it. You can see this is what our work is going to look like if we make these changes. And you can do 3 or 4 different scenarios. And I think you mentioned the challenge of not tracking changes. Well, we track all those changes. So you can say scenario 1, here's all of the changes of the from to of the organization. Scenario 2, here's all the from to changes of the organization. And so you then can import that back into your HRIS system, and it just makes that much easier. But the number one thing that customers come to us, and the reason we start with visibility, is like that's the biggest challenge customers are trying to solve. And until you solve that, you can't really get into that deeper level work of the right insights and the workforce planning. And those are what we do. And we see our customers stay within the org chart when they're doing all of those activities.
Yes, great explanation. Thank you for going into those details just because, I mean, look, every C-suite executive has their own preference, right? Every, manager over a department may also have their own separate preference. So sometimes when you're sitting in an HRC, you kind of find yourself in a pickle. You may have an idea of how it works, but then if, like how you mentioned, if you're using just the standard basic HCM platform one, that doesn't necessarily always print well. If you go to Excel spreadsheets, now you're adding on even more work, right? Because you're doing the
Yeah.
spreadsheet, and then if someone else goes in and makes a change, it's always such a headache. So just going through, your company's platform, it seems to have solved all of the issues that at least I have experienced in the past, which a part of me definitely wishes I'd heard about org charts 5, 7 years ago. Feel like I'm a little
Yeah.
bit behind the game. um, at least from my perspective, I could be, wrong for others, but for me, that definitely stuck out a lot because it would have solved a lot of issues that I had experienced in the past. But leading into a couple of others too. So automation, I think, was also another big one that I, came across. I thought was really key.
Mhm.
Consolidation, of course, the customization that you mentioned as well. Are you able to provide some more like in-depth examples of how that even sets you apart from other like competitors so that, anyone in my
Yeah.
network who could kind of still be a little suspicious on things like how that really helps companies as a whole?
Well, let's start with the automation side, and I think that's a really key one. All of the things that we've just been talking about, right? And you talked about how different C-suite executives have different views of their organization they want. We talked a little bit about different types of conversations that HR leads, right? As well, where you need a different org chart visualization that's tailored to the conversations you're having, whether it's a DEI conversation, a future scenario conversation, maybe you're needing to show for a specific location or department. We allow you to actually save all of those versions of the org chart, right? So that you might have in your instance of org chart 10 different, however many you need, org charts that you've created with the filters that you need for the conversations and requests that you regularly get. Now, we integrate it through APIs with over 50 different HRIS systems. And so if you have a payroll and HR platform, we integrate with it. It's almost a guarantee that we're already an integration with those. And so what that means is like you create this chart, right? And many of us have done this, right? Where we've done and we've created the chart in PowerPoint, we've created the chart in Visio, and then 1 month later, because organizations of a certain size are going to have constant changes, that chart is no longer valid, and now you're manually redoing that again to fix whatever changes have made. Someone's left, someone's got hired, someone moved to a new department. Ours keeps all of your filters, but because it's connected to your HR data, you literally go in at any point in time, at any day, it will always have the chart with the most recent HR data connected to it. And so you're never manually correcting or adjusting your charts. Once you create the charts you want and you create those filters and you save that, the chart's always there for you. You're never going back. And then we automatically export to PDF, to print, to intranet, to PowerPoint. PowerPoint and PDF tend to be our most popular ways in which people export that to share it across the company or externally. And so that automation allows that to be kind of a one-time setup for you. You get your chart the way you want it, you save that template, it's always connected to your HR data, and it's always there for you.
Nice, nice. Look, music to my ears. I feel like,
Yeah.
because that's always, key, especially if you're printing out something for someone or prepping for a meeting and you start on a Monday, but the meeting's not until Wednesday, right? It can always become a huge issue internally for any HR, benefits business partner, HR manager. So great, great stuff there. I'm sure my network is really excited to hear about this. So you mentioned your partnerships, which leads into my next question to you around how well it integrates with your HCM platform. So from
Mhm.
my end, top key partners that I saw on your site, ADP, Workday, UKG, Oracle, right? Those are key ones that I know many people, but
Yep.
you have a plethora, as you mentioned. And so for anyone who wants to get going on this, of course, we'll put the OrgCharts website link in here. Also through your HCM provider, I'm sure there's a marketplace link that you can go to request a demo as well. Tom, if anyone is kind of like curious on if they want to get going right now, how quick it is, how seamless it is, how that process works on your side so that they're, kind of ahead of the game and can kind of prep when they're getting approvals internally.
It can go very quickly in terms of taking you through the software, helping you understand what we do, getting you started. The onboarding, look, we are dealing with your HR data, and so we'll walk you through. But generally, we can get you set up in about 30 to 45 days. It can go quicker if you can provide us credentials and logins, et cetera, for your HRIS system. But and then get your first charts customized. We guide you through the implementation and make that as painless and quick as possible for you. For some of our HRIS systems like ADP, you can actually just go into the ADP marketplace, hit activate, and your initial chart is already there. And so there are some that are a little bit quicker, but we're there to help kind of take you through step by step and guide you through the implementation process and get you set up as quickly as possible. And then, like I said, the good news is, this, and it sounds like you've clearly done this before. Is like, hey, when you get one request, it's almost a guarantee you're going to get that request again. You're never having to rebuild that again after that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a game changer, I would say. Definitely sets you apart from the competition. If there really is a competition out there, I would say you guys definitely have checked many different boxes. And I just find it hard to believe someone can catch up now, but who knows? So great job over there, Tom, at OrgCharts. Glad to have you on this specific episode. I know my network will definitely reach out and have a lot of, requests. So please feel free to request demos from Tom's group as well. Tom, definitely, hopefully we can circle back, in the next coming months. If there are any system enhancements along the way, be happy to get those updates from you and share to my HR and payroll orgs that are out there. I have a lot of connections too, so happy to kind of keep this rolling. For everyone who's going to tune in for next episode, we are going to get into consulting services. Of course, that's definitely really big right now in our specific industry. So I'm going to take a deep dive in how that can benefit your company as well. But Tom, thanks so much for joining. Really happy to have you on. Thanks for providing all your insight, and we'll make sure we get the word out about the org chart so that way you guys can help out my network because we definitely need it.
Absolutely, Tiana. Thanks for having me, and it was great to visit.